I'm Wolf from Healing Wolf Coaching, here to walk with you through the jungles of recovery from conditions like chronic pain, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, insomnia, and more. I like to start with a deep breath in through the nose. Let's breathe in together, filling our lungs. And then slowly exhaling. A lot of physicians will sort of dismissively say to someone when they can't find a reason for their chronic pain or anxiety or panic or these other conditions, they can't find a medical reason, they'll say it's all in your head. So the question is it all in your head? Is this pain? Is this anxiety? Is this chronic fatigue? Fibromyalgia, is this all in your head? Because physicians often say this to folks. I've heard it from clients, I've heard it from friends. And I think basically what the physician is saying by saying it's all in your head, they're saying, well, that's not in my jurisdiction. It's kind of like a police officer from a different county or a different state. They might be on the scene when something happens, but it's out of their jurisdiction. So that the doctor's basically saying, go find a psychiatrist, go find that is a medical doctor, but go find a psychologist, go find a way to work at it from the headspace, from the psychological. And that can be a useful cue. It's great evidence if somebody says that to you. You might, sometimes folks get angry about that. They want an explanation. They want a medical explanation. So here's the explanation. Here's how it is in your head. It's your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is wanting to protect you. So it sends you a protective sensation. I call it a PS, protective sensation. That sensation could be chronic pain. It could be anxiety, it could be arrhythmia, it could be POTS, it could be like all of these panic attack, all intended to keep you alive and make sure you survive, to protect you from what? Usually nothing real. So saying it's in your head is saying that unconscious mind has been running whatever data is coming in, which could be physical movements, it could be memories, it could be a response that's been created as a habit or a trigger to a particular setup. Let's say you're in a certain room, you're in a certain atmosphere, you're with a large number of people, you're on stage, you're a lot of different habits or triggers have associations. So on recovery, we're getting rid of those associations. So the pain is not just in your head, you're experiencing it in your body, but it is being generated through a process of data running through an unconscious mind or your limbic system, if you want to look at it scientifically, running through some filters. And those filters can be completely wrong about you needing protection, about you needing to, like with chronic pain, wanting you to go to a bedroom and not move, wanting you to hide away. Chronic fatigue, same thing. Panic, same thing. To retreat, to hide in a cave, etc. That may have been helpful as we evolved as a species when there were very real threats. And in some war-torn countries, there are very real threats. What do you see when people are being bombed as recently as this week, like Ukraine being bombed by Russia with the drones? The footage that pops onto the news is people in a shelter. They're locked down in the shelter underground. They're hiding away. And that's a very real threat of bombs falling. But unconscious mind, sadly, some people are having that response after maybe having grown up with that. So I have a good friend who grew up in Germany, was an infant in Germany during World War II, and they were bombing, and he was in a trench in the yard that his dad dug to survive the bombings. And later in life, he experienced a lot of PTSD sensations. those sensations are the same sensations I've been talking about, intended to keep him alive. And so his unconscious mind was still running that toddler infant program when he was super small, and still running that program to keep him alive. So is pain in your head? Yes and no. Like, it's being generated. All pain is generated in the mind, in the brain, and it's interpreting signals that may be coming in from the body or maybe coming in from somewhere else in the brain. So the recovery path is to recognize that those are just benign protective sensations. Yes, maybe they're coming from your head, but it's not something that we need to get angry about. Like, if you're angry, feel the anger, and then just realize that the doctor's basically saying, I don't know what to do. Like, it's just a limitation on the physician's training. And psychologists also don't all know what to do with this. So working with a mind-body coach who is familiar with this journey can be super effective and super helpful. If you have more questions about this topic, then please drop them in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel. And also, please head over to healingwolfcoaching.com and sign up for my mailing list, because I'm going to be having a free Zoom question and answer session next Wednesday, July 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to be included in that, just sign up for my mailing list. It makes it easy for me to send that out. I don't really send out very many emails, very many mailing lists, because I produce so much video content like this. So back to the topic at hand. Is the pain, is the anxiety in your head? It's experienced in your body. So the perception is that it's coming from your body, and that's why a lot of people get this idea that there's a physical injury, that there's something wrong with the body because they're experiencing this, or they've gotten a diagnosis that they have a disorder. Well, in many cases, this disorder is just a pattern. It's just a data processing pattern. And when I work with clients, I work on shifting that pattern away from breaking that pattern up, like taking a computer, taking a laptop, taking it apart, and taking out a few components. All we need to do is take out a few components. If we can take out the component of additional fear, that's huge. And that begins to dissolve that pattern of the pain coming from your brain. There are plenty of ways to dismantle these triggers, these habitual responses from unconscious mind. So the pain is no longer being experienced in the body, and no longer being generated by a mind that feels like it needs to protect you. So we're working from the mind. We're working from the pain being in your brain or in your head. We're working from the head into the body, and we're also doing somatic processes which are effectively using the brain, effectively using the head to dismantle that signaling pattern, that triggering pattern that leads to more pain and leads to more anxiety and leads to more fear. We're taking the fear apart. So that's today's topic. If you have some questions, please drop them in the comments. I'd love to see you next week at the Zoom Q&A. It's a great opportunity for you to show up and ask some questions, and also ask me about what's been happening with you and the kind of strategies that I have to help you through it, to help it get better. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.